Welcome to Adventures of a Wallflower with JD Morgan. I am your host, JD Morgan. Episode 6, New Beginnings and Shedding the Whole. So I recently had a conversation, several conversations, but one conversation in particular reminded me about a time where I was afraid, or rather very anxious to go to the savannah, and exercise, to do my little jogging. Because there was a time when I was completely just to trying anything new. I've always been very anxious, as it would take me at least a week or two to actually do something I want to do that I've never done before. So it does take a lot of planning. I have to know all the details that are involved step by step before I even try it. That also let me be reminded rather about back in university when basically I wanted to start gym, but I didn't have the courage, didn't have the bravery. I was, as I said, anxious, a bit shy. And the only way I got into gymming was through a class. So there was a fitness class that we had to do back in university. And that's how my gym and my fitness life began. And I was after I actually finished the class, I was oh, why did I take so long to start this? Well, I guess it is because of all the unknown. We're afraid, we don't know what to expect what is going to happen, the failure or success. So for some of us, it's a lot harder to actually just start. Some people just jump right ahead and be on their way. For those of us that take long, find out your detail I need to find out and go ahead, start it. And this reflection has allowed me to realize that I've done a lot of new things over the past 5 to 10 years. And now that I've reached a period where I will have to start other new things, new beginnings, and I may need to shed a part of me that no longer serves a purpose. I think that's what life is. We live and we learn, we move on, we only go back to relearn what we have forgotten so that we can apply it to the future. Because every day, every week, even every second, you are working on yourself, you're relearning, you're refining, you're changing things, right? We never actually stay the same at any given period. Something always changes. And I hope for you, it changes for the better. That you learn from your mistakes, as I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. And I'm trying to live a life that I am comfortable with, that I can be proud of, and others can be proud of me as well. Just as there are seasons, your life has seasons, phases. Some phases and seasons do repeat themselves. They have minor changes, some have major changes. Basically, it's based on how you react to them. Try not to be afraid. And as one of my aunt would say, and my grandmother, go with God. And try to involve all the important people in your life with these new changes. Talk with each other. You could learn something from each other so that your life could be better and even theirs could be better. I must say, when I started this podcast, my intention was to share and is still to share more of myself with others so that they'll get a better understanding of me. Possibly see if they resonate with some of the things that I've been saying, been going through, right? And it's also to help my oral skills, my conversation skills, even though I'm really just having that conversation with myself right now. But I am in turn speaking out to friends, family, and strangers. And I also know sometimes it's hard to keep track of all these little bits of events in our daily lives. Sometimes we find it very hard to, sit down and listen to even, my podcast just for 8 minutes. The way I did it, for last year, because I would have said listening to another podcast was what inspired me. And I actually did a TV/podcasting course last year. And I just sat down and realized it was easy to just begin, you know? And then recently, as I've stated, I found out a new bit of information about myself. In time, I will reveal what that is and what's been going on. Well, for now, we just on the topic of new beginnings, so to speak, and shedding some of the old habits. So recently as well, I actually finished a few books, certain books that I would have started, and I actually finished just recently. I started a new book and I finished that within a week, and planning to start another one today and hopefully do an exchange with a friend soon to see, what they read and just change up the genre of reading and to explore a bit. And now for a poem entitled Seasons. As the leaves fall to the ground and hibiscus blooms with luminescence, as days are full of light and lush trees, each signaling the start of a new season, where old habits are lost, refined, or new ones are formed. That's the end. That poem, short one. This poem presents the passage of time and the changing of seasons, often serve as metaphors for personal growth and transformation. As the leaves fall to the ground and hibiscus blooms with luminescence, we are reminded of the cyclical nature of life, where endings and new beginnings coexist. The days filled with light and the vibrancy of lush trees symbolize the potential for renewal and self-discovery. This transition into a new season encourages us to shed old habits that no longer serve us, refine those that do, or embrace entirely new practices that align with our evolving selves. It is a time for reflection and reinvention, where nature's rhythm inspires us to embrace change with grace and optimism. Right, so now it's time for another story, or rather, a story. This is back in 2006, 2005, 2006, back when I was going higher in high school. Actually, it's not 2005, 2006. A bit earlier than that. A bit earlier. Probably around 2004. Yeah, around that region. But I was still, at that time, I was going higher in high school, living with my sister when she was going to university. Alright. I know a day when I was heading back from school, I went by my friend Xavier. We played some games. We used to love Need for Speed. We actually had all the collection, full box of all the games that were released up to that time. And we went home by him and we just played that for a good 1-2 hours. And I remember walking back home, like, I was on my phone back then. I think I had a Sony Ericsson, one of those old phones. I mean, it was 2004, 2003. So I would have crossed the roads. Yeah. This was close to where the U.S. Embassy is. A little further up from where What's New was located. This is back in Jamaica, right? I am not exactly remembering the name of the location, but I believe it was further up from where they used to call this place Standpipe. Was living too far from there, right? Right. So back to the plot. On the road, the busy four lane, 2 lanes per side going up and down. Walking, somebody opposite me walking down and I'm walking up. And they approached me with a knife to my stomach. Was I scared? A bit. Didn't know what I was doing or what to do really in the exact moment. But when they asked for my phone, which my phone was in my pocket by this time, I was like, I don't have anything. And in that moment, I was like determined not to give my phone away because at the end of the day, money was spent on that. And the only thing I was thinking, if you try anything, both of us will go into oncoming traffic. That's all I was thinking. But I was alone then, so I could understand why I was thinking that. I told a few people about that. I haven't told a lot of people about that incident. I believe that's the only incident that I could recall where anything like that ever happened. And I don't think my mind would have changed any different. I would still be thinking, if you try too much, we will both go out. Those are different times. Yeah, that's just my story, right?
Be sure to get your copy of The Silent Love, a collection of thoughts and imagery conveyed through words, at Wallflower Press Bookstore, Amazon, Apple Book, Barnes& Noble, Everand, and other major online bookstores worldwide. Additionally, my book is available ebook format, paperback, and hardcover. And for those located in Trinidad and Tobago, the paperback is available at Scribbles and Quills in Chaguanas and the Barrow Bookstore in Couva. And for my other socials, you can check out my website at www.jd-morgan.com and Instagram page with handle j.d.morgan _writes. As well as on Facebook, you could search for the profile j.d.morgan. And I am also on TikTok as j.d.morgan_writes. And if you've read my book, kindly go to Goodreads and search for my author name or the book itself and give a review, a very honest review. Thank you. And that's the end of this episode. Thanks to you all for tuning in this week, and I hope to see you next week in another episode of Adventures of a Wallflower with myself, J.D. Morgan. Thank you.